Our top stories tonight: ANC National Policy Conference delegates defy party orders not to bring up leadership preferences. KPMG denies facilitating dodgy transactions to help the Guptas pay for a lavish wedding. This is eNews Direct Weekend Edition. I'm Flola Dwaba. A very good evening to you.
Hi, I'm Carmen Ray.
You can track our main stories tonight using the following hashtags: ANC, NPC and COSAFA Cup 2017.
You can comment on any of our stories by following us on Facebook and Twitter at eNews Direct, or check our content on our website eNCA.com/direct.
But first, we start here. The ANC's call on National Policy Conference delegates to refrain from singing factional songs has seemingly fallen on deaf ears. Deep divisions continue to show as the December elective conference draws nearer. The policies being debated are meant to insulate the party from divisive fighting.
It's inevitable. Deep divisions have begun to show at the ANC's policy conference, with opposing factions singing songs in support of their preferred candidate in the leadership race. ANC Secretary General Gwedimantashe has stressed that the conference is not for the discussing of elected leadership, but for developing policy. But just how the ANC plans to rein in delegates who are expressing their choice of leadership remains to be seen.
We knew there may be those elements, given the fact that the ground was fertile enough for ill discipline. That's why even as you see the songs about certain preferences, we'll continue to make that call. That is not good for the African National Congress.
The party is at pains to point out that such troubles are necessary for an organization that's trying to rebuild itself.
The fact that people are factional, the ANC has got the power to change that. And that is why we're making firm proposals in organizational design about how we must respond to those particular challenges.
On the announcement that Parliament has shifted the date of the vote of no confidence debate in President Jacob Zuma to the 8th of August, Mbalula is adamant that even with a secret ballot, Zuma is safe.
So all party members, in terms of the ANC discipline, are supposed to follow that particular position. Now, the extent to which people will be ill-disciplined, the ANC will have to apply the disciplinary procedure for those who want to use the so-called conscience to determine the voting in Parliament. If that were to occur, quite clearly, it will have been against the decisions of the African National Congress.
While National Assembly Speaker Baleka Mbete says she's not yet decided whether MPs will vote through a secret ballot.
I'm still waiting to hear the views of different political parties. I wrote to them and said I just want to hear their views so that I can also take them into consideration as I'm making the final decision.
With the weekend set aside to debate organizational issues, the conference now turns to policy, with nearly 4,000 delegates divided into commissions to debate policy not only for the organization, but also for the governing party. Lester Kivett, Johannesburg.
Our senior anchor, Vuyo joins us from the Nasrec Centre in Johannesburg now with the latest from the conference. Good evening to you, Vuyo. Well, it's day 3 of the ANC Policy Conference. What has stood out today? We know that delegates, for example, have spoken out about their preferred candidates despite pleas not to do so.
Yes, indeed, you are correct, Flo. They have been discussing the issue. A proposal is on the table to say this should be an open process going forward. However, that may be too late for the December elective conference, because it is that very conference that will have to take a final decision on the matter. But the matter is on the table to say it should be an open contest where people people who want to canvass for leadership positions should go out there, speak to the membership, engage with them, and people can size them up and decide who is best placed to lead the ANC. But as I say, it may well be too late for the December elective conference.
Now, the ANC has been at pains to sort of hide the cracks that are clearly there. Can we say that day 3 has sort of exposed those cracks that the party has been sort of trying to hide the past couple of days?
Well, they are there, and there has been, attempts to paper over them, but people are speaking their minds. We are told, although one must say that it does look like shall I call them, the pro-Zuma camp appears to be winning. For example, the reason I'm saying that, I just spoke to a couple of members of parliament just now, one of whom had made it clear that he will never support, in other words, he will find it difficult to vote for President Jacob Zuma to stay on. He is now saying that the best that he may be able to do is in fact to abstain. In other words, he will now, which suggests that he will not be voting with the opposition. Now, that may well be a victory for the party's position, which the MP was telling me is essentially the ANC taking a position to dump the country and preserve the organization, which the MP reckons is actually anti-revolutionary, because how does a revolutionary organization leave the people that it is supposed to lead aside and choose itself over them? So those are the kinds of debates and discussions that are going on. But as I said, it does look like slowly but surely those who want to stand for good things are in fact being defeated, because that's what it is, whichever way one looks at the particular issue, for example, of the no confidence motion.
Vuyamvoko, thank you very much to you, sir. That's our senior anchor, Vuyamvoko, there at Nasrec for the ANC Policy Conference. Well, KPMG has refuted allegations that it helped the Gupta family use state funds to pay for a lavish Sun City wedding. The Independent Regulatory Board for Auditors says it will investigate KPMG's 2014 audit of Linkway Trading. The company was allegedly involved in the wedding scandal. Leaked emails suggest laundered South African taxpayer money was used to pay for the lavish nuptials. KPMG says it's aware of the investigation and will cooperate fully with the industry watchdog. The auditing firm insists its independence wasn't affected by senior partners attending the controversial 2013 wedding. KPMG says it stands by its audit of Linkway Trading. Police Minister Fikile Mbalula says people have the right to freedom of speech. He says threats against journalists won't be tolerated. Lobby group Black First, Land First has threatened a list of journalists that it accuses of racism. Mbalula was speaking at the ANC Policy Conference in Nasrec.
The police minister has spoken out against attacks on journalists, vowing to suffocate those behind the threats.
We are very soon going to arrest them. But I'll address that in a different press conference of the police, because that concerns my citizens for their right to freedom of speech. The day we allow people to march to houses of our children whilst they work in their own workplaces, that will be wrong. That is why when people were marching to the Guptas, we hit you with stand grenades, because we don't want you to do that. When people march to Solima Paila, we must hit them hard. And when they march to Peter Bruce, we must hit them hard. When you come to my house, I finish you.
Communications Minister Ayanda-allie has also condemned the attacks, saying the intimidation of journalists is unconstitutional. On Thursday, members of the Black First, Land First movement staged a protest outside the home of Tiso Black Star editor-at-large, Peter Bruce. The groups accused him of covering up white corruption. It's since released a list of names of journalists it accuses of supporting white monopoly capital, threatening to protest at their homes and places of worship. Among them, veteran journalist Max Dupree, Business Day editor Tim Cohen, and News 24 editor Adrian Basson. The group has also named 3 black journalists, Ferial Hafaji, Karima Brown, and Eusebius Makaiser as agents of white monopoly capital. The South African National Editors Forum is planning to apply for an interdict against BLF as the group has not withdrawn its statement.
Al-Qaeda has released a video showing that 6 foreign hostages held in Mali are still alive. It purportedly includes South African Stephen McGowan, who was abducted 6 years ago in Timbuktu. Efforts to get him released have been so far unsuccessful. Residents of eNCA informal settlements say living in temporary accommodation is becoming unbearable. They say the structures are overcrowded and cold. A small group of people continued to protest today over the city of Cape Town's slow pace of rebuilding. Community members are frustrated after losing their belongings in fires and a recent storm. But the city says it's hoping to complete rebuilding and making other changes to the area by the end of the year.
We're going to continue with this until they give us what they've been promised us to give.
A warning to Cape Town Mayor Patricia de Lille. Residents say they can no longer live in temporary relocation structures provided by the city. They say many of the structures are overcrowded, with family members being forced to share the living space.
They say they're going to keep us here for 3 months. Now it's more than 3 months. The problem is it's cold inside there. And we're staying with the kids there. They get sick because of cold.
It's been raining for a few days. Water has been on our houses. All of those, there's been chaos. There are children who are ill, and there's another lady who died here in fact because of coldness.
But city authorities are calling for patience, saying they are working on a long-term solution. Already reblocking plans have begun. These are aimed at creating space in the area by building roads, which helps reduce the risk of fire and allows easy access to emergency services.
Parallel to that is a formal housing development which will be rolled out in 3 phases. We're currently busy with the first phase, and the beneficiaries of that housing project are the people who live in eNCA. We're addressing the long-term security of tenure for that community through the formal housing project, and we're rehousing the people that were displaced through fires through this super blocking process.
Despite demands for a meeting with the mayor, de Lille's office says there are no plans at this stage to visit the area. Artie Narsi, Cape Town.
Well, to international news now, French President Emmanuel Macron is in Mali for the G5 Sahel Bloc Summit. Countries including Burkina Faso, Niger and Chad are expected to launch a multinational force to combat terror groups. The Sahel region has been described as a breeding ground for militants and illegal activities. Extremist groups took control of parts of Mali in 2012 and continue to carry out attacks against civilians and peacekeepers. A South African woman is hoping to smash an international swimming record to create awareness about ocean pollution. Do stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. A South African woman is preparing to break an international swimming record to raise awareness about the devastating effect that plastic pollution has on the ocean. Let's take a look.
Sarah Ferguson has been swimming for as long as she's been able to walk. In 2009, the athlete who's competed in World Cups decided to study coaching in the US. It was there that Ferguson was introduced to ocean swimming in Hawaii.
And that's when I just fell in love with the ocean. I'd never really been exposed to ocean swimming before that. And that's where the dream for what I'm about to do started. I saw an island in the distance and wondered if anyone had swum it.
Ferguson, who's also the director of Breathe Ocean Conservation, is now putting her words into action. She plans to swim the longest channel crossing to bring focus on the dangers of plastic on the seas. The 42-kilometer-long Kauai Channel is infamously known as the Valley of Bones for its unforgiving conditions.
The distance isn't really the huge challenge. It is a challenge, but it's quite big swell and strong currents and trade winds that you have to contend with. So you've got all of those natural elements, and then on top of that there's the wildlife. So tiger sharks are quite a big fish in the area. And then my biggest fear is the Portuguese man of war, which is a giant blue bottle. It's got very long tentacles, up to 50 meters long.
The swim will start at night and could take between 12 and 24 hours. Ferguson has been preparing for 4 years, swimming between 20 and 50 kilometers per week. In addition, she also endures intense gym workouts and a strict diet of 3,000 carbs a day.
I've done a couple of swims in big seas and cold seas just to expose myself to extreme conditions. And then I went down to Aliwal Shoal recently and did a free dive with sharks just to expose myself to the sharks so that I know what to expect. I think it's very different when you're actively going to look for a shark versus when you're swimming and one arrives. But again, I surround myself with people who are experts and I trust my team.
Ferguson will be accompanied by a team on a motorboat and a kayak during the record-breaking attempt. The team has a 2-week window period to try for favorable conditions. They leave for the 200,000 Rand US trip in just over 2 weeks. Judith Tsubin, Durban.
All right, that's your entertainment news for tonight. After the break, Joel Guy brings you your weather forecast.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Weather Center. The weather was pretty quiet throughout Sunday across much of South Africa, save for a few patches of cloud that popped up in the afternoon around Gauteng, the Free State and southeastern South Africa, where we also have this thick layer of high-level clouds streaming across the Eastern Cape. Further west, we have a rather weak cold front which is yet to hit our shores, but throughout Sunday, we stayed with quite a lot of cloud around the southwest coastline, where we had occasional light rain and drizzle in places, and it's going to stay rather wet this evening for these parts of South Africa. On Monday, it's going to be mostly cloudy along the east coast with a chance of light rain and drizzle for the Eastern Cape coastal areas and much of KwaZulu-Natal. The rest of eastern South Africa should see afternoon rain showers. Partly cloudy skies are forecast for the Southern Cape areas. Otherwise, it's going to be mostly sunny across much of the Northern Cape. So KwaZulu-Natal should see a mostly cloudy Monday with light rain and drizzle in places. Afternoon temperatures will make it into the upper teens and lower 20s. A partly cloudy and cool day is forecast across much of the Eastern Cape. It's going to be mostly cloudy with light rain and drizzle along the coastal areas and the adjacent interior. Partly cloudy skies are forecast for your Monday along the Western Cape coastal areas. Cape Town warming to around 20 degrees on Monday afternoon. It's going to be sunny on Monday for much of the Northern Cape with mild afternoon temperatures. Cooler, however, for the southern areas where Sutherland is going to have a very chilly start to the day. We are expecting a sunny one for the western areas of the Free State, but rain showers are possible around Bethlehem and Harrismith. We are also going to see showers over much of the northwest, where Mahikeng and Rustenburg should peak at around 23 degrees. A few sprinkles of rain are also possible for the western areas of Limpopo, but Polokwane should get away with partly cloudy skies. It's going to be partly cloudy across much of Mpumalanga with a chance of light rain later on in the day over the eastern areas. Gauteng is also going to see a few sprinkles of rain with a high of 24 forecast for Pretoria. On Tuesday, we are going to see light rain and drizzle for the eastern areas. It's going to be mostly sunny for the western sections. A mostly sunny and warm Wednesday is forecast across the whole country.
All right, here's a recap of our top stories. ANC National Policy Conference delegates defy party orders not to bring up leadership preferences. Well, that's a wrap from the eNews Direct team.
Until next time, good night.
Cheers.